Hi guys, how are you? So nice to connect to you. My name is Laura, and this is Pleiadian Healer from PleiadianHealer.com. And today we will continue with our series, Random Insights, Psychic Insights that came through during healing sessions that I've had with clients over the past few years or months or whenever. So this was a rather interesting one, and I was always wondering about it, but never really knew, what to think about it. And then I actually had someone who contacted me, and it's in regards to a chakra removal that went wrong. So I want to say, like, in quotation marks, chakra removal, because it didn't feel like anything was really removed, but there was definitely a lot of stuff that was put into the client's energy body during the session that she had with others. So I wanted to address it. Okay, so the client reached out, and basically the words were she felt her soul had been sucked out of her, and she felt really ungrounded and really not in control of her life anymore, and all of the things. Like, it was actually pretty bad. And at first I thought, okay, is this like entity possession or something, or what exactly is going on? And then she had kind of said, a little while ago, like a few years or a year ago, she had a chakra removal done. And so I know there are quite a few people who advertise those services. I myself am not one of them. To be honest with you, it doesn't resonate with me. I do teach Kundalini removal and all of that in my shamanic healing course, but I'm a firm believer that if you want to remove those things out of your body, like something that's so I don't want to say severe, but so big, like chakras or kundalinis, you should probably do it yourself. Maybe you shouldn't ask someone to do it, because you're basically messing substantially with your energy body. It's not just a random implant removal or cord removal or a soul retrieval, but you're messing with these like huge concepts that are going to affect your energy body in one way or another. And so I'm always a firm believer to just teach others how to do that, as opposed to just doing it on them. But long story short, this client had gone to these two healers who actually don't even advertise their chakra removals anymore. And these two healers are of an older age already. It's really hard to tell their age, obviously, because their website pictures are so old, but I would say maybe like in their 60s or whatever. I actually have no idea how old they are. But it seems they've been around for a minute, at least like 10 plus years. And their website has stuff from like 2013 and before that, and also after that. So I'm just guessing here. But basically, just looking at the website, it kind of says, since 2015, we do not do chakra removals anymore. The core principle is, we don't feel drawn to it, yada yada. And it's always the same, right? Like, similar when we dissected through Lisa Renee, they always kind of stop at one point. So on their website, they say they gave up the chakra removals on others in July 2015 because they felt the people who were reaching out to them didn't have their chakras in them anyhow, or just were at a point where they were able to get rid of them themselves or something like that. And so when the person had reached out to me being like, they had just gotten the chakra removal quite recently, meaning in the last year or so, and she told me about the website and everything, and I looked at it, I was like, okay, that's strange, because on their website it says they don't give them since 2015, meaning whenever someone reaches out to them, they basically just advertise that service or kind of do it anyhow, which is pretty unethical. I do want to point that out too. It appears what had happened in her case was that she hadn't even asked for something like that. She had just asked for a regular healing session or whatever. It does seem that these two people, so it's like a couple, a man and a woman. It does seem that these two people give other types of healing services. What exactly, I'm not sure. The website doesn't give a whole lot away, because their entire website kind of is built on, chakra removal and all of that. But she had reached out to them for something different. And then without informing her, which I find highly unethical, it's like, this is how the healing industry doesn't have a lot of guidelines. Like, if you are a psychotherapist, if you are a licensed whatever, if something like that were to happen, you could basically get sued, right? But in the entire healing and psychic industry, the boundaries are just so gray. There's no black and white like you have in other therapy industries, let's put it that way. So she had reached out. They had done the chakra removal on her without even telling her in advance. I guess they told her afterwards. And that is unethical, in my opinion. And then hell basically started in her life. So she had a lot of issues. Like I said, she kind of, the symptoms she was saying was like a soulless being, soulless existence, and a lot of just issues in her life, not feeling joy and all of that, which I do think is, that's pretty bad, right? Like you go to a healing session, you don't really want to feel that way. So yeah, anyhow, I just want to share insight on this chakra removal that went wrong. So then she had reached out to me. We had a regular shamanic healing. I didn't see the need for the DNA healing in her case, because I was like, if you just want like a regular healing, just go for one of the shorter healings. Obviously, it makes no sense to look at other stuff. But basically, the first thing that I did feel very strongly, so I usually get like insight before the session already, and then when I do like the, like during the session in the very beginning. So there was a lot of scatteredness and time delays and all of that coming through. I'm just kind of reading from my notes here, so I'm going to glance at the piece of paper. Feeling distracted, all of that. None of that is like super new. It also comes through during other sessions where people did not have their chakras removed. But basically, there were a lot of blockages. I felt that strongly around the head area. And also, I think it was around the stomach area. I kind of felt like the solar plexus. So the solar plexus is this thing that's right here. It does have to do with manifestation, right? So if your solar plexus isn't working, it's hard for you to manifest the reality that you desire and that you can create. So I felt like her entire solar plexus was very cold, which I hadn't felt that before. And I also kind of felt, and this was astonishing to me, because this is why I'm saying chakra removal, because it didn't feel like a removal. Her energy centers, her chakras were still there. They were weak, but she definitely had them there. Her heart felt empty and disconnected. And also that her intuition was being off. So it kind of had messed with her psychic insight, which we kind of got that, with Lisa Renee and her healing method too. So the heart center felt very dimmed down and like it wasn't tapped in. Something was being messed with, like the manifestation powers and the solar plexus were being messed with. And then also she felt very ungrounded to me. So that made sense, because there were a lot of like scattered thoughts, worried thoughts coming through. There were a lot of entities over a few of her like centers, like certain parts of her body. Like there were anchors in her heart. There was like an octopus energy there too. There was like an actual spider. You can actually see a spider web at one point and the spider right above that. So that was interesting. To me, it seemed the chakras, however you want to call that, they were dimmed down, but not entirely gone, because her creativity, which really does lie like in the womb and what you call the sacral, the creativity was definitely fully functional, So then I was also thinking about just having like a soul contract removal done between her and these two people, which I'll get to at the end of this, at the end of the notes. But this is something, the next part is something that I've also noticed when I've done healing sessions on people who had healing sessions by other healers, and specifically like Native American shamans. There was like a snake in her energy body. And I mean like her entire body. Okay, so I kind of had to yank that out. I usually do that through the mouth. Snakes, you don't want a snake in there, because the snake, it wasn't the Kundalini either. The Kundalini does have certain energy, serpent energy, but to me it felt like it was like an actual snake that was kind of yanked in there by these two healers. And the snake usually makes you feel super ungrounded. So I myself have had a snake in my own energy body. That was back in 2018. And I had to have it removed. I had it removed by another shaman. And the way I got that snake in there was, I was attending this event, and a person who was giving a speech was a sorcerer. Like he actually called himself, like a male witch or whatever. And he had ushered in so much energy somehow. I think he didn't even know this, that he inadvertently called in the snake in my energy body. I don't know if it happened to others either, because I left that event right away. It was only like 10 people in that room. But I kind of felt the snake just kind of attracted me, or was attracted to me. And that's how it got in there. So I know how ungrounded it can make you feel. And the moment I felt that, I like called up my friend and she yanked it out because she was a shaman. But I'm not sure what would happen if it had been there for longer, like a few days or a few weeks or a few years. There was like this rod-like thing in the heart, kind of keeping it open. There were also like parasites over her womb. There were like other types of intrusions that I think were not related necessarily to the healing session she had with those other two healers. But there definitely were a lot of cords around her head area. So when doing the cord removals, it really felt like it was just causing more confusion, you know, having all those cords around her head. Now, this part definitely has to do with the chakra removal that went wrong somehow. When I tapped into her energy body during the shamanic journey part, the soul retrieval part that I do, so I saw her as a person. That's basically how I see clients in the astral. She was in this dark void spot, and she was basically just spinning around, kind of like a ballerina or dancer. And so to me, that kind of felt her soul was lost somehow, you know, like the words lost soul came through. And then we went to a scene where she was being buried alive down below the ground, below the earth. And it was basically, it wasn't even a coffin, but it was like a sarcophagus or sarcophagus, whatever the Egyptians had, you know what I mean? So this huge, like cement, like rock like thing. And so she was buried in there, but it was deep below the ground. And there was like earth over her grave, over her coffin or whatever. And then there was this massive rock over all of that, so that she would basically never be able to escape. So that was her energy body, you know, in the astral. And that did come from those two healers, I felt. So I got her out of there. And then we went to a different scene. And then when I was working on her, there was this persistent, very persistent black cobra in her body instead of her soul. So when I was doing the intrusion removals, which is like implant removals, there was already the snake in there. But then when I went to the soul retrieval part, there was like another snake, which was very thick. It really literally looked like a cobra. I don't think it was a python, but it felt like a cobra to me. And that was kind of keeping her body occupied instead of her soul. So the souls usually would be, you know, I would see that in your energy body, but in her case, it was a black cobra. It was very hard to get out. I think I had to try to yank it out at least 5 times. I do want to point that out. Very hard, very persistent. And I had to try a few times. I pulled it out again. And then I just, you know, tossed it and burnt it just so that it never comes back. And then I had to go look for her soul. I was like, oh no, where's her actual soul now, right? And so we went back to this coffin-like, grave-like scenario, and it was in this container, you know, usually like the container that you have for the ashes when someone dies. It was similar to that container. And so the soul container was where she was buried alive. So I was able to infuse that back into her and do all these things, reuniting her with her lost soul essences and all of that, collecting more soul pieces. And then to the soul contract removal, because the client actually had requested, okay, I want a soul contract removal to these 2 people. I don't ever, you know, really want any of their energy in me ever again. So we wrote that out. I kind of wrote that out for her. And then we destroyed it. We burnt it. Oh, this is interesting. I'm just looking at my notes because it's already been like a little while when this was, but I just wanted to share this with you because I've actually have not experienced this before. While we were burning that soul contract, so I kind of imagine just burning it over this fire, right? We were viciously attacked by the entities in the field, and I felt that it was the field of these 2 healers somehow. So these 2 healers had all their entities in their field. And energetically, we were being attacked. And the way it played out was it was like arrows raining down onto us. So it's basically like this war zone like structure, right? We're in this war zone like scene, and there's like arrows coming down. So I had to imagine like putting up this shield and protecting us, and putting up all this protection. And I literally felt like I was back in the medieval ages somehow. It was so strange. So I pulled up all the protection around us, and then we burnt the soul contract and all of that. And then I gave her instructions to what to do for the future, because obviously it's going to be ongoing work. But yeah, during the part where the arrows came raining down onto us, I really had to drum a lot. So I do a lot of drumming during these soul retrievals. And the reason for that is that drumming actually can get rid of a lot of those attacks. I just want to point that out. It's very powerful. So, I was wondering what a removal really does after I saw that. Everything seemed quite balanced at the end. It did seem like the chakras would still be there, kind of. So I'm not really sure. I don't really do this method. I think there's a reason for sure I'm not doing those things. And if so, I would probably rather teach someone how to do it rather than doing it on my own on this person. But it really just felt like it was just like this entire session she had with the healers the year before just felt like this massive psychic attack they had called upon her. And yeah, so I really don't know what a chakra removal, what's really being removed, because nothing really felt removed during it. I just want to point that out too. There was like a blockage somehow on it, but it wasn't gone, really. It was strange. So that's just random insight I wanted to share. Yeah, it's pretty intense, right? So especially if you have like two healers work on you, like you just gotta, it's even stronger. The energy can be even stronger. So I mean, because this was a couple that had worked on her, but I find it highly unethical. They didn't even tell her beforehand what exactly they're doing. When I do sessions, I tell you in a detailed way what exactly we're doing, and sometimes clients come back and they're like, actually don't include this, do more of this and all of that. So I do try to honor that in the right time, but I would never see myself do anything like that. And I think that's also one of the new age things, right? There's like no boundaries. There's like so many gray zones that all of these supposed healers and psychics can just pull off. They're riding off of people's grief and trauma and sadness. And this was just a perfect example of that. These healers still seem to be active, even though they're not posting on their website anymore. When people contact them and email them, they're offering their sessions. So for me, that means they're still doing some form of damage. And I don't know if it makes sense to say their names, because I don't want people directed towards those people, honestly. They don't seem to be like a huge deal, but you would be able to find them if you were to look up the right keywords. They're not like Lisa Renee or anything. So for me, it's like, I don't want to direct people their way. If people want to know who it is, you can email me, obviously. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to leave it there. And until then, have a beautiful day. I hope this helped. Use discernment. And until then, bye.